All right, what's up, kinfolk? Welcome back. Today is Monday, September 29th, and this week we are talking about South Africa, one of the most popular countries in the on the continent of Africa. And so South Africa is one that I've always sort of heard was like the most developed, and people say, oh, if you like San Francisco, it like is, looks like San Francisco, and they're talking about the sky rises and all of the developments that the country has. Yes, the country has an enormous amount of development. It is an absolutely beautiful country, even without all of that. Just the national or the natural like beauties and wonders that it has. It has what I think 6 World Heritage sites. Like we'll get into that a little bit later. But South Africa is an absolutely beautiful country. And so it's a little bit weird because we say North or Northern Africa, East or Eastern Africa, West or Western Africa, Central Africa, and then there's South Africa, which is a country. It is not a location, like it's not a region, right? The other regions all have like Northwest, East, or whatever. But when it comes to South Africa, if you're referring to the region in Africa, you would say Southern Africa, because South Africa is a country. And it's interesting to me because I'm like, it's always West Africa, East Africa. Sometimes you'll hear, I've never heard, but sometimes I'll see Western Africa, Eastern Africa, but usually it's like West Africa, East Africa, but then it's Southern Africa. So just making sure we have that important distinction. When we're talking about South Africa, we are talking about one country, one of the 54 countries in Africa. We are not talking about the region in Africa. Okay, so per usual, we are going to go to connectmetoafrica.com and look at some basic information, demographics, a little bit of the history, and we are going to look at some photos as well so that you guys can see South Africa, what it has to offer, and determine if you want to go there, right? Because that's the whole point. So I'm going to go ahead and add connectmetoafrica.com to the stage. So this is a photo that I took in Cape Town. So like I said, it's super beautiful. Even without the nice houses, these nice houses are really great. But just look at, this is a picture of Table Mountain, and the actual flat part, I believe, is over to the left of us. But it is like this long mountainous area, and it is directly across from the beach. So I'm going to skip down. I'm going to come here and go to gallery. I want us to just go through some of the photos first. And these photos are not in any particular order. It's just how I uploaded them. And so this photo here is a restaurant called Mama Africa. It is a place that I frequented all the time when I was in Cape Town. I would go here all the time. The food is really good. The people like were really chill. I absolutely love just the decorations, the decor. It kind of has different themes a little bit throughout the restaurant. And it was just a really great place for me to hang out. It was also like a bar. I would sit at the bar and hang out. Sometimes they would have live music. So if you are in Cape Town, you guys want to make sure that you check out Mama Africa. And I'm going to post a video because there's a video that I have where I'm like, dang, it feels like I'm on Bourbon Street, right? And so this restaurant is on like that street where it's like every other couple doors, there's like a nightclub. And as you're walking down the street, it's just banging, it's popping. There's tons of music, there's shops, there's all of these things going on. And it was like, wow, like this was just the place to be. And I had a really great time. This is one of the Soweto Towers. And I did some bungee jumping off of here. Like you could do bungee jumping, and they have paintballs and other different things that you can experience there. There's a little bar restaurant area to the side. And so these are pretty famous. I really like how I'm not sure how often they do it, but you'll see that the Soweto Towers get repainted ever so often. And so it's really nice to be able to see like what they are highlighting and what they are showing on the towers. It's really beautiful. And you can go to Soweto during like the hop on, hop off tour. And then they also have like tours that will take you throughout there. Unfortunately, it is like a super impoverished area. but this is one of the highlights. This is like a place where you can go and you can spend money and give back to the community, make sure that you're supporting the community and be able to like hang out with locals. This is a picture of one of the stadiums, and obviously it's like a huge stadium. It's really beautiful. I love how they had all the flags outside of it. And I love just the South Africa flag. They call themselves the Rainbow Nation. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I definitely just wanted to show, what does Africa look like? So this is on the opposite side of that original picture where you see Table Mountain and the houses. So directly across the street, you have the beach. And this is absolutely beautiful, and it's nice and clean. And this person here obviously was doing like this huge sand art. And I was like, yo, that is crazy. So yeah, it was just a nice, beautiful day. And you get to see, so this is when I cross the street, behind me are the houses and Table Mountain. And then again, there is the beach. Yes, we see that they have paved roads. Oh my goodness, they have paved roads in Africa. Can you believe it? And not just in South Africa. And here is an excursion that you can take. They have like the little airlift thing at Table Mountain, and that's a pretty popular attraction. Table Mountain in itself is just a really popular landmark that people like to go and take pictures there. And it's really beautiful, but that is one excursion that you can book if you want. And this is a market that we went to. And what's crazy is like this place on the other side, I mean, there will be hundreds of people. This is the place that people go listening to. There's all sorts of like music and just different things that you can get into. There's food, there's drinking. I think they had a DJ, not a live band, but they had somebody like emceeing or something. But it was a vibe. I just wasn't expecting kind of like this marketplace area to turn into like this daytime party. And it was just a really cool experience. You guys may have seen these steps are pretty popular as well. And so all of these like different, you see all the colors, right? So this is another picture of just Table Mountain and the homes in Cape Town. And so being able to see what a country looks like, and it's like, oh, wow, that looks really nice. This is a photo from my friend's apartment in Johannesburg, and they had the most beautiful thunderstorms. Like I love, 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 love thunderstorms. And they had thunderstorms all the time while I was there in December. But I was like, look at this, man. This is just, it's beautiful and it's amazing and it's fabulous. And so you guys, there are more pictures that you guys can go through and see, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I showed you guys some photos because we haven't always gotten into the photos and dealing with this. It's kind of like jump straight into the information. So I did want to show you guys some of those, and I will be posting some videos later from when I was in South Africa. All right, so let's jump back to the top. We have Discover South Africa. So South Africa, aka the Rainbow Nation, stands out due to its diverse cultures and stunning landscapes from Table Mountain to Kruger National Park. So population size is over 63 million people. Capital city. Now, this is different and unique in the sense that they have 3 capitals. So they say that Pretoria is like the ultimate capital, it's like the capital of the capitals. That's kind of like their executive and administrative like things are handled in Pretoria. But they have 2 other cities that are considered capitals as well. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So the time zone is UTC +2. So the time zone, again, UTC it's somewhere around like London, Paris. London and Paris are an hour apart, and Ghana and Nigeria are an hour apart. So Paris and Ghana and London and Nigeria are the same, I believe. And so that is right around UTC time. Let me check. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the right information because it's identical to like one of the other ones. To GMT, which we call Ghana Man Time, which actually is Greenwich Mean Time, but GMT in Ghana, they call it Ghana Man Time. So it's the exact same time zone as Ghana. All right, going back to where we were. The best time to travel, and this is interesting, and we'll get into this a little bit later too. There seasons are totally different than our seasons. So in America, we have like December through February as our winter months. They are our coldest months of the year, and that's where you'll get the snow. If you're in a place that snows, you get the heavy rainfall. But their seasons are totally different than ours, and we'll get into that. The best time to travel is December to February. So when it is winter for us, it is not going to be like snowing or anything like that there. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But December to February or May to September if you want to do safaris, right? So if you want to do safaris, May to September, but generally just to go there, December to February, they say is the best time. And again, I was there in February and the weather was really nice. I was able to, I didn't take, like I said, I probably didn't really take pants. And I definitely didn't take like any type of jackets or anything. So there were thunderstorms, but it was not like rainy or anything a lot. I was outside all the time with like arms out, legs out. So it was just perfect, beautiful weather. The primary airport is Johannesburg International Airport, and the currency that they use is a South African rand. They have over 20 different ethnic groups and speak over 20 something languages. Their official language, it says, is Zulu. Now, here's the thing. They don't have one official language. They have 12. So in addition to having the 3 capitals, they have 12 national languages. And so I'll get into that a tad bit. So this says, speak like a local. South Africa has 12 official languages consisting of 11 spoken languages. Let's see, Zulu, Hausa, Afrikaan, English, Sepedi, Swazi, Sesotho, Setswana, Sitsonga, Shivenda, and Ndebele. And then they have South African Sign Language, which is a nonverbal language. Like insane, official languages, right? The US does not even have one official language. We have 0 official languages, and South Africa has 12, which is crazy. And I love that they have the sign language, nonverbal language as an official language too. So it says there are more than a dozen other spoken languages in addition to the 12 official languages. So close to, if not more than 30 languages are spoken throughout the country. We have English here, but you know they're going to speak Arabic, right? There's so many people that are there from other neighboring countries. So Swahili is spoken. They have all of these like people that are coming from different countries that are also bringing their own languages. So I don't know if anybody speaks French there, but I'm guessing so. Why? Because Congo. A lot of people from Congo are all up and through South Africa. So if you just think about the neighboring countries and what languages they speak and how they go to South Africa speaking their language in addition to like Arabic and all these other languages, that sounds like it's probably close to 30 for real, if not more than 30. Lots and lots of languages. So it's definitely, when we're talking about diversity, when we're talking about all of these different cultures, being able to go to a place where you're going to probably feel included because it's not just one type of person. This is definitely going to be a place where you might feel that. Heavy on the mic, just depending on where you are and who you are with, right? Okay, so let's get into a couple of other things for today before we end our live. So achievements and accolades, we have the end of apartheid. Apartheid is huge. Y'all heard of Nelson Mandela, right? We all know who Nelson Mandela is. We have to know who Nelson Mandela is. Like, he's a huge, huge, huge political figure. Even though it happened in South Africa, he is an internationally known and acclaimed activist and politician. He was the first Black president or African president of South Africa. I would need to actually check and see if he was the first president ever. I don't think so. But I know that he was like, I think the first like Black president. But I'll definitely check on that. And if y'all know, drop it in the comments, because I am not here trying to act like I know everything there is to know about everything about every country in Africa. No, I don't. I know people. I've been there. I research. But if you know more than me, honey, correct me in the comments all day, right? So apartheid, or it translates to apartness, and it was coined by the Afrikaans in 1948. It was a cruel and violent social system created by the whites in South Africa that heavily and legally oppressed and discriminated against non-whites. This is happening in Africa, by the way. You have white people in South Africa who are oppressing Africans, which, okay, we had colonization. Yes, we did. But this is after that. This says began in 1948. Began in 1948. Hello? That was not that long ago. That was very much not too far away from where I was born, like for real. It was only, what, 20 years before my daddy was born, for real. My grandparents were alive, right? And so it discriminated against them in all aspects of their life. And so after decades of activism, decades meaning who was alive during apartheid? Millennials, right? Any millennials in the building? Okay, yeah, you were alive during apartheid, right? This is not stuff that happened generations ago. And so after decades of activism and international economic pressure, apartheid officially ended between 1990 and 1994, which means when it officially ended in 1994, I was 9 years old. Hello. Okay, so the ending of apartheid is an achievement. We like that. The rise of Nelson Mandela. So he was the first president ever. Okay. So it says on April 27th, 1994, Nelson Mandela, who was an activist who spent 27 years of his life in prison because of his opposition to speaking out and like voicing his opinion against apartheid. He was jailed for 27 years. He was South Africa's first president. So he wasn't the first Black president. He was the first president. So after apartheid ended, when it officially ended in 1994, he became the first president. Okay, bet. That's amazing. So dominating the big screen. South Africa has one of the oldest film industries globally and has had massive success in both film and television. If you guys have seen like Family Feud, South Africa, right? There are so many shows that are like originally from UK or US that they do in South Africa as well. And these are huge shows. These are not small shows. A lot of productions that happen on the continent happen in South Africa, like a lot of the mainstream shows, right? We know that Nigeria has Nollywood and they have a massive film industry. However, when it comes to having things that are more internationally seen and more internationally acclaimed, South Africa is usually where a lot of like the bigger companies and studios and things go to shoot things. And that is just because of like the infrastructure and everything that they have set up in place to be able to film and get things done there. It says in 2023, their box office grossed $227.3 million. And by 2030, it is projected to earn 429.9 million. So that ain't no chump change. Okay. When we're talking about them making movies, films, all types of different productions, they are global, they are massive, they are making a lot of money. What else should we talk about today? We can do a little bit of like demographics and things. So we said capital cities. Unlike most nations, South Africa has 3 capital cities. There's Pretoria, which is the ultimate capital of the country, where their administrative or executive business is handled and the union buildings and most of the public service is conducted. Then we have Cape Town. So, and let me go back too. I want you guys to be able to, or not go back, but let me go down. So when we talk about like popular cities, we said that Johannesburg is the like main international airport, right? Cape Town's airport is a big airport as well, but Johannesburg airport is like their main airport. So Johannesburg is like 12 miles outside of or away from the airport. It's right there, right? Cape Town is along and this is like in the inner area, Johannesburg. And I'm gonna show you guys a picture of the map. Cape Town is pretty far from Joburg. So it says it's 888 miles or 1,428.3 kilometers away from the airport. And Cape Town is down by the ocean, which is how we get the beach. Pretoria is 30 miles away from Joburg. So it's very easy. I hopped on a train and got from Joburg to Pretoria in what, like 30 minutes or something. It wasn't a long trip at all. And then Soweto is about 35 miles outside of the primary airport. So that also is really close to Johannesburg. So doing Soweto, Pretoria, Johannesburg, like in a couple of days, all of that would definitely go together. Cape Town, you would need to fly. There are other modes of transportation to get to Cape Town, most definitely. The quickest is just to fly. If I'm not mistaken, the flight was less than an hour and a half. It was maybe about 2 hours. I have a video about that because I'm like, this flight is so short. They gave me 2 bottles of wine. They gave me 2 like little meal entree thingies. And I'm like, we will have a 4, 5, 6 hour flight in the US and you'd be lucky if you get peanuts and some water. Right? South Africa did crush my brand new suitcase, but that's neither here nor there. So being able to do a trip to all of these places is definitely doable if you have enough time. And we see that Durban is 361 miles from Joburg. So Durban is not very far from Joburg. It's basically like LA to the Bay, right? For those of you in California. So just kind of giving you that insight. So Pretoria, which is in the inland, that is where like the ultimate capital. And then Johannesburg, which is very close to it, has the what is it? The judicial? Don't give me the lion. Let me go back. Not Joburg. Cape Town, which is like 800 something miles away. It has the legislative, it's the legislative capital. That's where Parliament is. And then I don't know how to pronounce this. Bloemfontein is the judicial capital where the Supreme Court of Appeals is located. The Constitutional Court is located in Johannesburg. So the Constitutional Court is in Joburg. The union buildings and a lot of the public services handled in Pretoria. Cape Town has Parliament, and then Bloemfontein has the Supreme Court of Appeals. That's the judicial capital, right? So just kind of giving you insight. And let me show you a little map. I don't have maps on connectwithafrica.com. I'm not sure how I missed that because maps are like super huge to me, but that's okay. We're going to have that on there next time for you guys. And I'm going to show you this one because it breaks down the regions. And for those of you who don't know, there are 2 countries located inside of South Africa, which is like kind of crazy and amazing too. So here we see South Africa is the sort of beigeish color and completely swallowed up inside of South Africa. And this gray area is Lesotho. They pronounce it Lesotho because the TH just has the T sound instead of a th sound. So that country is there. And then Eswatini is on the northwest side over here, connected to Mozambique, right? And then you have the 9 regions. Down here is Cape Town. And up here is Johannesburg and Pretoria and all of that. So you'll see like they are very spread out. So when I'm talking about inland or inward, that's because it is far away from the ocean. And so you have the Indian Ocean to the west and you have the Atlantic Ocean to the east. And the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean, they come together, but they do not mix. Very much similar to how I was telling you about Ada in Ghana. They have the estuary where the river, the lake, and the ocean meet, but they don't mix. Very, very cool. All right, so that just gives you an idea of where everything is spread out in terms of like legally and how that works with the 3 capitals. And then we'll share, let's do a couple more things. So demographics, it says South Africa's population has an almost even distribution of men to women, with it being like a 51 to 48 split in favor of men. So about 51% of people are men and 48% are women. And then racially, Black Africans make up about 81.4%. Colored, like your girl Tyla, or mixed race people make up 8.2%. Whites are 7.3%, and then Indian Asians are like 2.7%. 81%. So even though we have 81.4% of Black Africans, like that is huge. 81%, 81.4% is huge. But when you look at land distribution, when you look at power, it is not always in favor of this 81.4%. And we might touch a little tiny bit into that later, but yeah. Moving on, Christian is the dominant religion. Around 80% of South Africans are Christian, and 15% of the population have no religious affiliation. I hadn't seen this in a lot of research that I've done for other countries, like 15% having no religious affiliation. That's a lot of people who are not believing in a higher power. And that was just interesting to me, like 15% of 63 million. That's a lot of people, right? 5% are Muslim, Hindu, Jewish, or of other faiths. So it's a very small percentage of people who are something other than Christian. And then Muslim has a very small amount of people, which is interesting because we know that Arabic is the #1 spoken language, the most popular language throughout all of Africa is Arabic. Yes. All right. And then it says the variety of religious ideals is protected by the Constitution's freedom of religion, belief, and opinion. Yes. Okay. So that was just a little bit on South Africa. There's definitely so much more to cover. And obviously there's so many more things that you can look at connectmetoafrica.com. As we continue, we'll definitely be going through like the different excursions and things that you guys can do. Some of the things that I've done, some of the things that I would recommend. We have our know before you go section. I guess the last thing I'll close out with is our safety. We like to go over that. Level 2, exercise increased caution, which we know is the U.S. Embassy's rating on a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being like there's hardly ever any crime, but just be careful. 2 being, okay, there's might be pickpocketing and stuff, but you're probably not going to like experience mass shootings or anything crazy. And 4 being like, do not go, right? They say reconsider travel. So level 2 is safe. It says safety is the primary concern, especially in larger cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town. Now, here's the thing. I will say, even though it's a level 2, exercise increased caution, the locals' like obsession with, or their hyper awareness, I should say, their hyper awareness of safety made me feel unsafe. As a solo female traveler, South Africa is the first country in the world that I've been to as a solo female traveler where I felt unsafe and where I wanted to get out as soon as possible. And I think it was because everywhere I went multiple times a day, it was always, don't have your phone out, turn your back around, somebody's going to steal your phone, don't do this, don't do that. I'm in the Uber with the Uber driver, and he's like, we're not going to take these directions because we need to avoid this neighborhood, which, okay, there are neighborhoods that I avoid in America. But he's also like, we're not stopping at the stoplights because people get robbed at the stoplights. And I'm like, yo, what? Like, hold on, wait a minute. So it's very interesting hearing that it's such a safe country, whereas a lot of people there don't think that it's safe. Every single day, multiple times, random strangers would be like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't stand outside. I'm like, can you roll up the window because I don't want my phone to get taken, which is something that happens in different parts of Africa. And they'll be like, no, you don't have to roll up your windows. And then I'll be outside on video call and they're like, no, you need to get inside. Somebody's going to steal your phone. Right. And it was just so much conflicting information. So for me, it was just everybody always telling me like, be careful, be careful, be careful. Don't use your flashlight. You can't use your flashlight. They have load shedding. Lights are off all the time. So them saying like, I can't use my flashlight to walk down the street. It just was everybody. It was too much for me. So I didn't feel very safe in South Africa. I did Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Cape Town for 3 weeks. But that is me. I also went as a solo female traveler, and that is in no way, shape, or form the best way to travel South Africa. If I go back, or one of the times I did like leave and went to Botswana for like a week, and then I came back, and then I was with friends. So it was a little bit better, but just going by myself, never again, like ever again in my life. And some people think that it's really safe, and that's fine. Here, the U.S. Embassy says it's really safe, but go with a group of people, go with a tour guide. Don't go by yourself is how I would say. So it just talks about like petty crimes and muggings. And that's what everybody was talking about. Just like, oh, somebody snatching your bag or somebody snatching your phone or something like that. Okay, I get it. but it was just a little too much for me. And then it says if you are exercise increased caution in South Africa due to crime, civil unrest, and kidnapping, which also happens. Violent crime is common and includes armed robbery, rape, carjacking, and mugging. There are also smash and grab attacks on vehicles, and violent crime is more common in downtown areas of big cities, especially after dark. So again, depending on where you are and who you're with, you may encounter or experience some of this, or you may not, right? But just knowing that this is something that could happen, it allows you to just be more prepared. So if you decide to travel to South Africa, here are some tips for how to stay safe, right? Don't take out your cash. Drive with your doors locked and your windows closed so that if you're at a stop sign or whatever, they're not going to just like pull up on you, plan your route in advance, all of these things. So it's like, nobody's saying don't go. We're just saying make sure that you are prepared if you do decide to go, right? Or when you do decide to go. Okay, so we will check out some more tips and tricks and information about South Africa throughout this week. We are focusing on South Africa this entire week. So I hope that you guys learned something. Hope that you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern for more about South Africa. And tomorrow morning, I will be dropping the African proverb of the day, as well as the topic for tomorrow night's live session. All right. So have an amazing evening. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see y'all later. All right. Bye.